Hi everybody, coming to you from sunny Sydney. Yes, I'm away from my usual Erie, and I thought I'd do a series of little short readings today because so much is going on with lawyers and judges. So that's Michael Cohen, Kimba Wood, and Neil Gorsuch. So here we go. I'm going to start with the Michael Cohen aspect. Let's see. Michael Cohen, and of course the Sean Hannity developments, you couldn't script it. Michael Cohen, just a quick one. Okay, because I'm not in my usual place, it's not so easy to show you the cards, but let me see what I can do here. Okay, in the center, you have the One of Pentacles. It's an ace card about money, so no mysteries there. The core driver of his behaviour and his morality, or lack of it, is money. Recent past, and in this case I would say very recent past, the Hermit card. It's pulled away. Now, if you looked at it in terms of the longer past, he's kept a low profile compared with Cohen and Sakalau and some of Trump's other lawyers. But he's flown under the radar. But I think this is recent past, which is he's gone underground and back into the bosom of the Russian oligarchs that he has served for so long. So what is at the root of the reading for Michael Cohen? Temperance. It seems an unlikely card at first glance. Integration and being very measured. This is not the man, we know he's now referred to as the fixer, and not a nice guy. So in this position you have to look at the other cards, and the other cards include some doozies. So you could assume this falls into the category of lack of temperance. So on top of him is the Tower, and that's why I'm so confident in saying this is a lack of temperance. Trump Tower crashing down and crashing down in his lap. It's also his own tower, of course. So this behaviour that he's got away with routinely is now about to be judged. Coming up short term is the Chariot. Now that could be the chariot of Michael Cohen galloping into the sunset and into oblivion, but I think it's more likely to be the chariot representing justice in this case that is coming forward very quickly towards him. And that leads seamlessly into the second part of this reading, which is by request. So the judge in the case of the Michael Cohen stuff is Judge Kimba Wood, and she's not letting them get away with much. She is interesting because she's obviously a strong woman, and she's handling one of the biggest cases in modern American history. So let's just have a little look-see at what motivates Kimba Wood and where this case is likely to go. So regular viewers will know in so many other readings we keep coming up with women in the judiciary, high-powered women attorneys or high-powered women judges, and I think we're starting to see a bit of this now. So Kimba Wood would have to fit into that category. So Kimba Wood. Right. Kimba, what's your story? Yeah. All right. For her, She has had her challenges. She has cut her teeth in a very, what's the word? In a very challenging series of situations. She has not had an easy time getting to where she is. This is not someone who just swanned through law school and got high-powered, high-paid gigs and just worked her way gradually up through the system. This is someone who had to fight every inch of the way. So in the centre, what's motivating her, funnily enough, is heartache on some deep level. It's a strange card in the light of this reading to be in the very centre. So I would take this to mean her passion for justice was forged through a great injustice that touched her or her family personally. I'm thinking childhood here, but something very painful set her on the road to become a legal eagle. Right. And that's borne out in the past. She gets the Tower too, but it's in her past. Her future's different. But what it's saying here in the past was she lost everything at one point or at some point. So we're talking deep personal pain and struggle here. Underneath this, things got a lot better. So she got her law degree, she got good work, she was recognised, her reputation was acknowledged. What started off as very conflicted, very difficult stuff became infinitely easier. Right. Now that was the good bit. On top of her, you have the Five of Cups, which is also disappointment. Okay. So what I'm seeing by putting these cards together is she had quite shattering, the Tower is shattering pain. Then things got good. Then she was disappointed. And I think disappointed politically in how much maybe the law could do, or disappointed in the calibre of people leading this country. And I suspect she is relishing this case. Her short-term outcome, the Queen of Pentacles, so that we've had in the past as Rebecca Mercer and other more mercenary female figures. She's financially secure, so she's not doing it for the money. I think she is very bravely looking at the money. So it takes someone who is fearless about the power of money to actually root out this criminal behaviour. If someone is going to be intimidated because someone's really wealthy and can bring pressure to bear on you, you know what? She can handle pressure. You know what? They can do their worst. She's in it to make a difference. So this is the Queen of Pentacles making a difference. I found that really quite different. So not what I was expecting. And if anyone knows any more about her particular background, either personally or legally, please drop me a line in the comments. Now, the third character I wanted to do in this reading was Neil Gorsuch. Is it pronounced Gorsuch or Gorsuch? I'm going to say Gorsuch. Okay. Now, his name is synonymous with conservatism, and his name alone struck fear and depression into the hearts of Liberals everywhere when he was appointed. So everyone, including myself, expected the worst from Neil Gorsuch. But he's come up with a few interesting things in the last 24 hours. Let me bring you up to date quickly if you haven't already. So he cast a vote, the casting vote, in a decision on someone being deported. And this guy was charged with a second burglary. And that's enough under the new rules, seemingly, to deport him. Gorsuch voted against that deportation. And his rationale was, burglary is being described here as a violent crime, but if no one's at home and no one's injured, is it really violent? It's criminal, but is it really violent? The second thing that was interesting was that, because apparently he's a legal historical wonk, he knows arcane stuff about the history of legislation in the United States. And he made the point about treason, too, being an overused word and not used appropriately. And that prior to the American Revolution, someone could be accused of treason just for speaking out against the king or the head of state or anything. So he's actually batting, in a way, to keep treason as a very serious crime, but let's look at what constitutes treason. So that was the second thing. The third thing was, if I can remember it, oh, yes, and this is really, really important in terms of DACA and other things. He said it's not right that something as serious as deportation of somebody, wrenching them away from their family, wrenching them away from a life they've had for decades, this decision should be made through due process, and it should not be made just by untrained officials in government departments. Go Neil Gorsuch. Because this is happening in Australia too. You've now got a situation, instead of someone being able to have due process and go through a court of law and make their case, it's been shortcut. So anyone with symbolically a pen or a computer in the immigration department and stuff goes through a very low bar of why someone should be deported or not allowed in the first place. And he's saying this really isn't the job of administrative people. So a quickie on Neil Gorsuch. Don't for 1 minute think he's not going to be a reactionary bastard in terms of other social issues. But I just thought, give the man his due. Okay, so what have we got for Neil? We've got the Eight of Wands. That's the one in the Rider-Waite with all those like spears going in one direction, things happening quickly. So he was appointed very early on by Trump, and then we heard nothing really. Nothing sort of happened. Now suddenly we're going to see his name everywhere, which is what's happening. Very quickly he's building up that profile. Behind him, the Five of Wands, conflict. It can be conflict within the workplace, the family, the public discourse, or internal conflict. But he's been conflicted about things. So I think maybe the impression I'm getting from these cards is he was picked as a conservative judge for life. And you know what? I don't think he was entirely comfortable about being branded a patsy for the Republicans, who are behaving so badly, and some could say criminally, in other ways. So I think the crappy deterioration of the Republican Party, they're leaving their values behind, has conflicted him. He's upset about that. Underneath the sun, he wants to shine light on that. And he will be a significant figure regardless of where he sits on things. He will be a big player. On top of him, the Fool. Now, as I've said to people in private readings, when I'm reading on these nasty political people, it's easy to go with the simplistic definition of the Fool, which is someone foolish. This is not a foolish man. So you have to look at more sophisticated readings of the Fool. And the Fool covers a whole spectrum of meanings about life and about the universe and where we sit in it. So the Fool goes from the foolish right through everybody's life experience and journey and comes back to the point of neutral. That's why it's 0 in the major arcana. It's the beginning and the end, the alpha and omega. So the Fool has much more going for it. So in terms of Neil Gorsuch, I think he's going to be true to himself. I wouldn't really want to spend 3 hours with this guy in a bar. I'm sure he's very conservative. However, he is going to fight, I think, for really basic principles of law. His outcome card, the Knight of Pentacles, and so the Warhorse. He's not young, he's not old. He has a lot of years left in him, for better or for worse. So he is going to be the hard-working Warhorse. So he is going to fight for what he thinks is just, but although I probably wouldn't agree with 98.7% of what he has to think or say, I feel more confident, even as an Australian, sort of second-hand to the American experience. He's going to consider things in a very detailed way. So the takeaway from this message is he's not happy with just being a talking head for Republicans. He's not going to be that. That's interesting. Okay, guys, I'm going to try and upload this today, and then I'll get back to you on the evangelicals. Oh, itching to do the evangelicals.